This program deals with themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience.
The KTPF Community Talk Show is sponsored by Dragonos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including Fright Nights, all-night investigations, and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. This is the KTPF Community Talk Show live from Manchester here on www.ktpf.co.uk. And I'm a bit flustered tonight after last week, so please bear with me. But we have hopefully got an alternative for you.
It'll work.
So I'm a bit annoyed actually because we left it on running about half hour afterwards and it was fine. So I wasn't very happy after I cancelled everything last year. Let's get rid of me mail. Just turn that off.
Turn that one off.
Oh, it's all good fun here. Right, so we have got an alternative, and I'll let you know about that if push comes to shove. Okay, so...
Is it better, Mr. Viscount?
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. As I said, my name's Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
And we're here to bring you paranormal, cryptozoology and all sorts, recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication. And we're here to keep the paranormal friendly. We are here to give you something to think about. Yes, very much something to think about. Now, one thing I will warn you about, as you know, Roxy's about somewhere, but we have the foster dog that's a bit of a pain in the bum at the moment. So hopefully she won't try and jump on top of the desk and look down the laptop when we have our guest on, because that's what she was doing earlier when we was talking to John. But if push comes to shove, we'll shut her out. Hopefully she won't make any noise. But, you know, life has to go on, doesn't it, Steve?
It does.
So, anyway, so if you're new to the show, this is a relaxed show. Nothing's scheduled here. It just comes off the cuff, doesn't it, Steve?
It does. It does.
I think that's the best way, though, isn't it? Sometimes.
Oh, you know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men?
Yes, I know. This is it. So if you're into cryptozoology or UFOs or ghosts or anything like that, this is a show for you, because we try and bring a bit of everything to you, to, like Steve said, to make you think about a few things. And some people might have their own opinions on what our guests are talking about. That's happened on many a times. We normally have our own opinions on what guests are talking about. So
some of them we can't put on the show.
Yes, so that's one thing I will say to you. Please remember, we have to be respectful because they've given us their time for free to come on the show.
Yeah, and I must admit, even the ones that I don't particularly think there's much to on the subject they're talking about, that is not the person themselves.
Yeah.
I can always take something, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, this is it. So, well, that's the way we are, aren't we? So we do learn from this, don't we?
We do. JW said he's so relaxed he's laying on the sofa.
Oh, right. I wish I was laying on the sofa. So, well, we've had a bit of a slack week, I suppose, the best word for it. I've not been too good, so that's probably my penance for cancelling the show last week.
And yes, if I count the cables you can see are some cables that was over one of our team members, and he brought them over on Friday.
Yes, so we've now got the rest of
them. We haven't used them for quite a while then once, so they need checking, which I shall be doing sometime next week.
Right, okay, just to let you know what's going on today before we hand over to Steve and his
What's going
observation.
on?
What's going on? We've got Dr. Peter McCue coming back on the show. Now, Peter's worked for many years as a clinical psychologist. He lives in Scotland. His qualifications include a PhD from the University of Scotland, which was awarded for a thesis on hypnosis. His interest in physical research and UFO phenomena goes back decades. He's the author of numerous articles on these subjects, and a recently published book entitled Zones of Strangeness, an examination of paranormal and UFO hotspots. He believes that paranormal phenomena occurs and that many UFO experiences are genuinely anomalous. He contends that if we want to obtain a comprehensive understanding of ourselves and the nature of reality, these enigmatic phenomena cannot be ignored. We're going to be talking to him tonight about monitoring and harassment of anomalous research. Or
Researchers.
Researchers, that's it, yeah.
And also maybe a little bit about the skinwalkers.
Yes, definitely. So sit back and relax, as I said, and hopefully you'll enjoy the show with the topic that we've got. I know you're all into ghosts and stuff like that, but we do, as I said, we do like to bring you a little bit different from the norm, and otherwise it would be very boring, to be honest with you. But as I say, sit back and relax, and we'll be speaking to him about 8:30. But until then, over to Steve with the observations.
Right, here we go, guys. As you may have caught the beginning of last week's show before we had to so rudely end it, I was talking about the recent black-eyed children thing down in Cannock Chase. Obviously, I won't read the whole thing again, but the end bit was, to me, rather important for people to know. So I'm going to do that bit. I'm going to read the footnote. Our friend Lee Blinkley, who's been on the show, he's being hounded by the press to get the story out. But when they can't actually talk to him, they're helping themselves to his blog, or just adding his name to the story to give him authentication. And in one case, adding his name to an article that mentioned the murder of a little girl, which he was definitely not happy about, because he obviously didn't want people to think he was earning money from that. Having said that, he apparently he was on the Good Morning show today.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm assuming they were talking about the subject, and he will be joining us later on in
December.
December, yep.
Yes.
Once he's
When everything's quieted
gathered
down.
as much evidence as he can on these new sightings, and he'll let us know about it.
What's next?
10 terrifying stories that deserve horror movie applications. Now, I did try and do this last week, but it kept disappearing, so I'm going to do it this week. Elisa Lam. The unexplained death of Elisa Lam has gone viral this month because of its bizarre circumstances. You can read the full rundown on what is known at the Vigilant Citizen. But here are a few key details. Earlier this year, a 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam was reported missing. Her body was later discovered by a maintenance worker in one of the rooftop water tanks in Los Angeles, Cecil Hotel, after guests had complained about the water tasting funny. Police found the above surveillance tape. Obviously, I haven't got that. That is on the link that I give you there. From the hotel's elevator, which may be some of Lamb's final moments. Really have to watch it to understand why it's been given so many heebie-jeebies. And its inspiring paranormal activity theories. Keep in mind, no sign of alcohol or drugs were discovered in her autopsy. You wouldn't know it by looking at the video, but here's the pitch. Lamb's strange demise is just one of the stains on the Cecil Hotel's history. A shady locale has also played host to 2 serial killers, including the Night Stalker, who is known to have murdered 13 women and developed a reputation for being a hotspot for suicide from jumping out of windows. Basically, if we were going to make a movie on this event, it would be in the way of The Shining or American Horror Story Murder House, where a location is essentially evil, driving those who stay there to commit suicidal acts of violence. Maybe it could center on a detective who is investigating the Lamb case and begin to uncover the many skeletons in the hotel closets. Only doing 2 of these, and here's your second one. The disappearance of Belle Elmore. The Belle Elmore was the strange name of the experiment opera singer Cora Crippen, unhappy wife of homophobic Dr. Hawley Crippen. Sadly, her greatest fame is not to achieve on the stage, but posthumously because of bizarre circumstances surrounding her death. Despite her popularity in London's theatre community, the Crippens did little together but quarrel, often publicly. After a dispute at a party they'd thrown in January 31st, 1910, she went missing and her husband insisted Cora had gone to California. But her friend, professional strongwoman Katie Williams, suspected foul play and went to Scotland Yard with her suspicions grew as Dr. Crippen invited his secretary, the pretty young Ethel Neve, to move in. And she began wearing Cora's jewellery and mink coat. When Scotland Yard turned up to his home to investigate, he was gone. But the coppers discovered a disembodied torso in the cellar, and the chase was on. Crippen and the cross-dressed Neve were spotted on a ship heading towards Canada and quickly caught upon their arrival. Now, the Crippen story is often remembered the first where telegraph communication in the case from the boat captain to Scotland Yard was used to collar a criminal. Nonetheless, there is something deeply creepy about a man who had murdered his wife, wrapped his lover in her clothes, and happily live in their home until suspicion loomed at large. By all accounts, Crippen was not a bold man. He was typically described as mild-mannered, especially in contrast to his big and brassy wife. But clearly there was something sinister in his soul, inspiring him to poison his wife, hide the body, and effectively recast her with his doting assistant. Given the right screenwriter, say Peter Morgan, this intimate tale betrayal murder could be harrowing for all ages. But correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't this story already been done in 1963 with Donald Pleasance? I'm sure it has.
Is that the same as the first one, or was
No,
that a second one?
That was 2 stories on that particular
Right,
one.
okay.
There are 10. I only did 2.
Okay, so I was looking for a feed for the.
You were looking for the what?
I was looking for the.
The key's already on there, Susie.
Yeah, I've done that one.
Done that one. I'm about to give you another key. Here we go. So our friends on Twitter can find them.
Oh God.
There we go. Well, you got it. You've got it in the back. I've got the cat now instead.
It's a family affair.
Pack it in, you two. Here's an interesting one. Crystals could enable underwater breathing.
It's become a family affair.
What are you doing?
Ignore me.
There we go. Crystals could enable underwater breathing. This was posted on Friday the 3rd of October 2014. Remarkable new type of crystal is capable of absorbing all the oxygen from the air or water around it. Developed by scientists at the University of Southern Denmark, the cobalt-derived salt crystal is able to absorb oxygen at a rate of 160 times the concentration of the air that we breathe. If the crystal is then heated up or placed within a low oxygen environment, it will release the oxygen so that it has stored up, providing a quick and efficient way of making an area breathable. Such a function could be particularly useful to astronauts. Another possibility could be used as a grenade-type weapon to use it against terrorists. A crystal-based oxygen bomb. Oh, that is scary. could be thrown into a room where it would activate and suck up all the oxygen, incapacitating the hostiles to render them unable to breathe. Don't like that idea. Perhaps most enticing application, however, would be to use the crystal as underwater rebreathing device. Instead of carrying hefty oxygen tanks, the diver may simply be able to use a mouthpiece equipped with some of the crystals, which would absorb oxygen from the surrounding water and then release it so the diver could breathe. Such a mechanism could potentially enable a diver to breathe underwater immediately, indefinitely. Put it that way. That's better.
Okay.
I'm getting tongue-tied now. Here we go. Here comes your next one, ladies and gentlemen. Pasted.
Okay.
Okay. E.T. may be too far away to contact.
Okay.
This was posted on the Friday the 3rd of October again. Vast distances between habitable planets could make communication with alien life an inviolable concept. For years, SETI has been scouring the skies for signs of radio signals from an intelligent extraterrestrial race, but despite its best efforts, there is still no sign that anyone else is out there. Given, however, that the galaxy spans over 100,000 light years, it could be argued that there may simply be no intelligent civilizations close enough to pick us up. Even receiving a signal from our nearest stellar neighbour, Alpha Centauri, would take 4 years. Recent advances in planet hunting suggest that there are an estimated 40 billion habitable planets in our galaxy. That doesn't help if the distance between them are too large. On average, you'd expect the civilization to be separated by at least 1,000 light years in the Milky Way, said astronomer Michael Garrett. That's a large distance for the communication purposes. You need to allow for twice the travel distance, so you're talking about a civilization that would have to be around at least a few thousand years in order to have the opportunity to talk to each other. There is the possibility that radio waves being limited to the speed of light may not be fit for communication over long distances, and that a sufficient advanced alien race might be using some other sophisticated communication system that we haven't even discovered yet. Picking up an alien civilization radio signals may in fact be like finding a needle in a haystack with extremely limited window of opportunity. Add to this, it could be incalculable. I can't even say that word. Incalculable.
Incalculable.
That'll do. Low. I kind of agree on this one, to be honest. How do we know that any planets are being used radio waves? They may be been talking to us for years, but we just haven't heard them due to the fact that we don't have the technical know-how, and that being the case, SETI has been wasting its time. Yeah, yeah. So I've done the ghosty bits. I've done the technology bit. Yes.
Okay.
And now I'm doing cryptozoology bit.
All right. Okay. So we've had a bit of everything.
Having a bit of everything. Tuesday the 30th of September, this was posted. A white saber-toothed tiger, alive and well and living in China.
No way.
That's what they're telling me. The only form of tiger traditionally known to inhabit China in modern times is the exceedingly rare South China tiger subspecies Panthera tigris ammonensis. I apologise if that is wrong. Even this may be now extinct in the world, according to a fascinating article published in Chinese on the taibeibadu.com website, however, which is currently summarised in English for me by a Canadian cryptozoologist, Sebastian Young. After alerting me to the existence, he had in turn been made aware of it by a British cryptozoology researcher, Richard Muirhead. A very different and extremely mysterious tigerine felid may also exist there. As recent as May 1994, in the Shenangrei region of China's northwest Hubei province. The article author allegedly spied a giant cat measuring 4 to 5 meters long and therefore much larger than any normal tiger, with white fur bearing vertical yellow stripes. An extreme white fur variant of the tiger, known as the snow tiger, does possess only very pale yellow stripes indeed. Some species bear no or virtually no markings at all, but it does not measure 4 to 5 meters long. Moreover, both the snow tiger variant and the more familiar white tiger variant with brown or dark grey or black stripes have only ever been recorded from the Bengal tiger, is the tigris, not from the South China subspecies or any other in case. The Shenangrei mystery cat also reportedly sported a pair of huge canine teeth up to 23 centimeters long, that therefore reminiscent of the prehistoric saber-toothed tiger. Worth noting, however, is that the saber-toothed tigers were not related to true tigers, belonging instead to the separate give me a second, taxonomic subfamily Macaleodontes. Nay, something like that anyway. Please go to the website and read them for yourself. The sighting species location was on the tallest peak of the eastern Shenangrei region at an estimated altitude of 2,800 meters. The article's author subsequently learnt that a few such cats had been previously killed by local hunters. If only the pelt or skull had been preserved for scientific examination. Perhaps some hunter does possess such objects as trophies displayed proudly in his home. If so, they may own specimens of immense cryptozoology significance.
I bet it's just a tiger with a tooth problem.
It's not just the teeth, though, is it? It's the fact that it's bigger than any other tiger should be. I mean, it's 4 to 5 meters long.
Look at a Great Dane. That's a big dog. That's a horse.
That would.
It could be some sort of.
That would dwarf a Great Dane.
I know, but I'm just saying it could be.
You're talking.
It could be just a big animal.
You're talking about a tiger, yeah? That's between 12 and 15 foot long, from head to tail. That is bigger than your desk.
How about when we see these big alligators and in the sewers? You know
Alligators in the sewers.
But you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And they say, oh, it's grown. It's the biggest alligator in the world, or whatever. This could be the biggest tiger in the world, and it's got a tooth problem, which the Viscount like my answer to that.
You're kind of clutching at straws a bit
all
there.
All right. Any more for any more?
Especially as we do know that alligators and crocodiles and the likes can grow to 23, 24, maybe even bigger.
Right, okay, well, considering your new name is now Mr. Tongue Twister Taggart, is there any more to be said?
Yes. Yes. And I would like to thank JW for passing this one on to me.
Get down. Mr.
Ghost Rider there. He passed on the Sun's version of it. And you passed the
full version.
The Daily Stars version of it.
Yeah, because the Sun, for some unknown reason, want you to pay for it now.
Yes, you've got to pay for the Sun. And the Star gives it away free, so we were able to read it. Police investigating child exorcism being carried out at downtown group of adults chanting "Get out, demon" at a toddler. Exorcisms are said to have taken place near to a Croydon leisure centre. Witnesses spotted adults surrounding a toddler while chanting at them. Claims they shouted "Get out, demon, get out" during the early morning ceremonies. Police say they are making inquiries to establish if the child is at risk. Police are investigating after a series of child exorcisms are said to have taken place outside the South London Leisure Centre. People living near the South Norwood Leisure Centre in Croydon have reported a string of incidents in the past month where groups of people surround a toddler chanting "Get out, demon." Witnesses have also say the adults shout about releasing the spirit during the 20-minute ceremonies, which takes place between 4 and 6 a.m. It is claimed that the child is told to stand still in the centre of the circle while the group chant, and when they are finished, they drive off in their cars, putting the child in a car seat. It is not yet known if the same child is present on each occasion or if they are different children. The ceremonies have taken place several times in the past month, with the latest being held yesterday outside the leisure centre when police attended. A spokesman for the Metropolitan Police confirmed that officers had spoken to a group on Thursday and been alerted to the suspected exorcism by local residents. He said the group were warned about their actions could impact on the wider community, but there were no allegations of criminal behaviour. He said, "We received a call about this issue earlier in the month. Although no allegations have been made, officers have made local inquiries but have not identified any of the individuals involved at this time. We are continuing with our inquiries to try and establish the identity of the child allegedly involved to ensure that there is no risk to his welfare." Now, are they absolutely picking stupid?
No, it doesn't sound good.
No, I mean, of course the child is in some sort of danger. If not physical, then definitely mentally. You've got a load of idiots standing in the middle of the streets shouting, "Get out, demon!"
Yeah. Well, some people have got some weird logic.
It's really, I just don't get some people. I mean, what makes them think that the demon's gonna go, okay, as soon as she shouted at me, I'll leave? I mean, come on. There's a hell of a lot more to it than that.
Any more for any more?
Oh, yes. We're off to Dudley Castle.
Dudley Castle.
Dudley Castle. The Grey Lady. Presumably,
fake.
Pardon? Who's a fake? The Grey Lady or Dudley Castle?
The Grey Lady.
Who said that?
Me.
Yeah, I would incline to agree with you that it's not the ghost. Someone looking at myself.
Go on then.
But the Grey Lady caught on camera for the first time. A couple taking pictures of the historic courtyard believed they had captured famous spook. She's the ghost who has supposedly haunted Dudley Castle for centuries. Now, Birmingham couple Dean and Amy Harper believe they had captured the chilling image of the fabled Grey Lady after taking photos in the tourist attraction courtyard. A simple snap of the Sheringham Rage buildings erected within the castle in the mid-1500s oozed paranormal activity, but was hidden at the time it was taken. Upper rooms glowed red, and there in the archway below is a blurred figure of a trademark grey. Dean said, "We went up to the castle ruins, and while we were there, we thought we'd get some pictures of the grounds. On looking through the images that night, Amy saw a glow, as though a light was on in the top window. Level on zooming in, we noticed on the bottom inside of the arch there was a lady of what appears to be a little girl too. Neither of us are ghost hunters, but we do wonder if this could be the Grey Lady." The picture is quite clear, he says. Built in 1071, Dudley is believed to be the most haunted castle in England, and I'm sure the Viscount would question that one. But if you have a look at the picture, it looks to me like it's a normal person. It looks to me like just they caught on. I mean, the original picture is like, and you've got a tiny little bit. What made them look in that tiny little bit?
Yeah.
I mean, they must have zoomed all the way in to get it, and it is there. But it's there you go. It's I think it's an actual person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks to me like it could be an actual person. I mean, obviously from that distance, you're not going to get colour, are you?
No, this is it. So, but anyway, we're going to get on with our guests, and you can come back to them later.
I'm done.
Oh, are you done?
And that was
oh,
my
that's
last one.
good. All right.
That was my last one.
So, well, Viscount said that's the problem because the image is very clear. It is instantly called a fake. How do we know it's a fake? Why can't it be real? Did money change hands for the object? I haven't really seen it, to be honest with you, Viscount.
Well, I did.
Everywhere
I looked at it.
calls itself the most haunted.
I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying it's not the ghost. I'm saying it's an actual person.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to believe that what we're looking at is an actual person.
Okay.
But you guys have a look. Let us know what you think. The only thing that makes me wonder more about it is why they bothered to zoom that far in, because it is a long way from the camera.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to call our guest up in just a moment, so we'll speak to you after this.
You're listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show with Steve and Suzanne Taggart, covering the supernatural, the paranormal, and other strange phenomena to keep the paranormal friendly.
Right, okay, we're going to get hold of Peter now, so bear with us. And no, we start at 8 o'clock. Hi, Peter.
Hello.
How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. When I turned on Skype a little while ago, it failed on me, so I restarted my computer, and it's working again. So just in case anything happens, I don't know if there's any problem with the system tonight. But
right. Okay. Well, if you want to type your landline number in the what's name, if we do have a problem, I can always call you on that.
Okay, I'll
right.
just.
As I say, don't tell me it. Just type it in the
yes
thing, and
right.
I'll sort that out.
You could have all sorts of strange people ringing you up.
Yeah,
that's right.
So anyway, it's nice to have you back on the show again. What have you been up to?
Not a great deal. A bit of writing, sort of articles and book reviews, but nothing wildly exciting. What about yourselves?
Oh, we're not doing too bad. We've had a few different guests on and learnt a few bits, and which is what we're here for, to learn. So
yes.
And that's why we get you good people on, so we can learn something different to the norm.
Right.
Being paranormal investigators of the spiritual kind. We like to find, spread our wings a bit and find out about the other side of the topic. So and bring that subject to everybody else for them to learn as well.
Right.
So and that's why we get people like you on. Now you've recently done a conference, haven't you?
Yes, it was a short conference talk. It was the Society for Psychical Research.
Mm-hmm.
They had their annual conference in York in early September, and the main conference talks are very short, actually, about half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That includes time for questions.
Yeah.
Which is actually just as well, because some of them are really bad. So I gave a talk on monitoring and harassment of anomaly researchers. But I don't know how well it went down or how interested the people were in the topic, because only one person approached me afterwards and asked for references, which isn't a good sign.
Well, let's try it with us then. But you do cover a lot of this subject, though, don't you? We spoke before about this sort of thing, but on another avenue, didn't we? When we was talking about the actual anomalies that we do get, and what we're actually getting, and the crossover and everything.
Yes.
So I remember basically saying before you come on that we were saying that the way you look at it is that you seem to we need to obtain a comprehensive understanding of ourselves and the nature of reality, that this enigmatic phenomena can't be ignored. About these your last book, the Zones of Strangeness.
Yes. Yeah, what the basic sort of argument there really was that, and it still is, I suppose, with me, that the different categories, traditional categories of anomaly.
Yeah.
In many respects, if you strip away the hoaxes, the misperceptions, and that sort of thing, a lot of these things seem to be connected. In other words, it's hard actually to draw a distinct line between, for example, ghosts, hauntings, and UFO phenomena. And I wonder whether, in fact, the underlying causes may be the same. They're just different manifestations of the basic underlying cause.
Yeah. People say, we've been talking about Cannock Chase recently.
Yes.
It's been in the news and everything, and it's got a plethora of different activity down there. But some people say, well, is it all connected? Or is ghost actually UFO sightings that we're actually seeing? Are they manifesting that to us? Like you say, it's the same with cryptozoology and all this. They all seem to interlink by some way.
Yes. It's interesting. It's hard to know with Cannock Chase because it's acquired sort of it's the focus of attention. It's a sort of place where if you can, looking at it from a sort of skeptical point of view, I suppose, if you were up there and you'd heard all these sorts of stories about big dogs or Bigfoot and so on, and saw some sort of Labrador in the distance, and your sight wasn't terribly good, it might be possible to misattribute that to something strange. The other possibility is from looking at it from the skeptical point of view, is hoaxing. I can't remember whether I mentioned this during my last talk, but I had a chapter on Cannock Chase in my book, and one of the press reports I came across, it had a heading something like "Bigfoot almost made me lose my baby."
Oh my God!
It was a pregnant teenager was driving across the chase, and someone sort of stepped out, and I think the implication of the article, I don't know whether it was proven, I'd have to check the article again, but, was that it was a hoaxer dressed up in a sort of a gorilla suit.
Oh God.
And the father of the girl said, if I caught that person, I'd give them a damn good height, something like that. But the headline was funny. Now, whether if the Bigfoot sightings, for instance, whether they're all attributable there to that sort of thing, or even just invented stories, or whether there indeed have been some, really genuine ones I don't know. Yeah, but it is an area, as you say, that's caught a lot of attention.
I think the problem with the Bigfoot thing is once it's out there once, anything that's big and they can't actually work out what they're looking at, automatically say Bigfoot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So there's no real proof on anything. They see this figure and they can't work out what it is.
Yes.
And they jump to the conclusion without actually moving in close enough or changing the angle to find out whether it's actually right or not.
This is it.
Interestingly, on the chase, there are a couple of spots which, according to accounts, could possibly be regarded as sort of hot spots within the hot spot, as it were. The one of them is Castle Ring at the southeast end of the chase, which is actually the highest point. It's a site of an ancient hill fort. The other area that seems to generate reports is the German cemetery. It's a cemetery where German servicemen were killed. I think mainly servicemen rather than civilians have been. I think they'd been buried elsewhere originally, but they were moved to this plot. And I think the phenomena there include things sort of werewolf type sightings or strange dogs and that sort of thing.
Not forgetting the big snakes.
Yes, apparently there's snakes down there as well.
That's right. Yes. But it's been suggested with the snakes. I remember again, when I was researching the chapter, that some people, maybe acquire pythons and so on, and then they tire of having them, and then they kind of release them onto a place like the chase, which actually probably, given our climate, they wouldn't last very long. But so it could be that if in some instances that people have actually seen real snakes.
So somebody just said anacondas. It's the same with the big cat theory. Could people have been letting them off like they did back in the day, because they can't keep them anymore, and just thought they'll put them in Cannock Chase.
Yes, some of the cat sightings, it has been argued. I mean, one person is Merrily Harper. She's written a book on this, and she argues that they're basically creatures from another dimension. I think that's basically her take on it. That they're ghostly phenomena in a sense. And that explains the fact that they're very seldom, they're very seldom caught. They're very seldom traced. And I remember I was giving a talk at a conference on the big cats, people with interest in that, and I was talking about Cannock Chase, as a matter of fact, and I did sort of articulate the idea that these appearances could be of a kind of apparitional nature. No one was actually, I think, well, apart from maybe perhaps one exception, was sort of tetchy with me about it. But I sensed that theory wasn't very welcome, and that most of them were more on the physical side. They thought, as you say, that there may be cats that had been released, or that there was a wild breeding population. I mean, I remember one man even believing that there were leopards in southern England. Now, I find it hard to believe that there would be a colony of leopards in a place like some bit overcrowded place that would continue for very long before they were detected. Yeah. And perhaps unfortunately killed or trapped or something. But I definitely got the impression that the sort of the ghost idea of it, or the more apparitional side of it, interpretation. My own view, I think I said this to you the last time, was that a lot of these paranormal events are sort of theatrical performances. There's an intelligence that sort of plays games with us, and that whether it chooses the manifestation to be a big cat, a Bigfoot, or a UFO, or a human-type ghost, it may be that the underlying thing is this sort of theatrical game-playing, trickster. That's playing with us.
And I think when it comes to the big cats, it's they have found scat, and cats like the leopard and the puma, and unless they're actually breeding, are quite solitary animals.
Yes.
And when we was in Devon last time, we actually heard the call of one, didn't we? So
yes, we did. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that. When you were in Devon, did you say?
We were in Devon at the Weird Weekend a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And we were camping, and we heard these dogs that were on the campsite going really mad, and we heard this weird noise, and then we went to the second day of the Weird Weekend and spoke to the cat specialist, and before we actually said anything, he said that he'd heard a noise and thought people were winding him up, and it wasn't until we said about it that we'd heard the noise as well. And he said, "Oh, I'm glad about that." He said, "Because I really thought people were winding me up and making the noise themselves,
Right. Where were you camping?
We were
in Devon.
In Heartland. It was. I'm trying to think where it is now. I can't think where the place is. Bear with me. Wolfersley or something. Bear with me, and I'll find it for you.
That's right. I think the chap who runs that event. He lives in Wolfardisworthy, I think. Woolsbury, I think they sometimes they call it. They contract it, don't they? Woolsbury.
Yeah.
Yes.
John
Downs.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
We've been trying to get back ever since, but
yes.
But,
that particular area isn't terribly wild, though, is it? Isn't it mainly sort of just?
Apparently,
there's a lot of open farmland in the area.
Yeah.
And there's
rumour.
And there's a few wild deer in the area as well. So.
Yeah.
Right.
And the camp lady did turn around and say that that she did recall having a lion a few years back.
Yeah, it was only a cub, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was a cub.
And that was before this thing hit the news with that silly cat.
Yeah, that was before. Remember that cat that came out, and it turned out to be somebody's moggy.
Oh right.
Yes, it was a big cat, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but this was before that lot happened in the news. But anyway, going back to yourself. First of all, for our new listeners, can you tell us a bit more about yourself? Now, you live in Scotland, but you're not Scottish, are you?
Well, I'm a sort of half-breed. My father was Scottish.
Oh, right.
And my mother's English.
Yeah.
So I was born in England, but I've spent about half my life here
Oh, I see.
in Scotland. So I regard myself as British, really, and
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't talk about politics, but I voted
No.
against independence. I hope that won't offend anyone.
I don't know. I would have done as well, to be honest with you. But
Yes.
so, how did you get into this field of research?
Well, when I was a child, I was sort of fascinated with it, and they continued, and then I worked as a career in psychology, in clinical psychology, and to some extent during my career, it went to it was put on the back burner to some extent, but then it kind of flared up again, and since I've been retired, I've been able to give more time to it. And even before retiring, I was pretty interested and fairly active in sort of looking at it. So it's been an interest, and it's continued, and so that's really it. It goes back years.
Yeah. So, and is there anything that you've actually found that has made you think, or what is it that's keeps you bitten to this sort of thing?
I suppose it's with other subjects. Once you start to get to know a bit about it, you just get sort of more enmeshed in it in a way. You take an interest in certain things. I mean, it's inherently intriguing, the paranormal, or the alleged paranormal, whatever label one puts on it. I mean, it is intriguing, and it's also, and as well as being intriguing and to some extent exciting, definitely it is that. It's also significant, because if these phenomena are real, they obviously tell us something about the nature of reality. Maybe it's not as simple as 19th century materialism, for instance, would have us believe. On the other hand, I think there's a tendency in this field for people to alight on certain theories which may be wrong. I mean, one of the theories which I think may be wrong is the assumption, and it's a very common assumption. It's almost assumed as a default position by many, that if you've got, for instance, a haunting, that it's caused by spirits.
Yeah.
And you even get investigation groups which have that in the title. It might be called the such and such ghost and spirit investigation group. So the inbuilt into the people are starting out from a theoretical point of view. And again, as I say, with my thinking about this, I wonder whether this is actually wrong, and that these manifestations that seem to be cases of spirits may not be. I'll give you an example, actually. It was a case that came to my attention in August. I was, as I told you, giving this talk at the conference, and I contacted an American person I know I've never met him in the flesh, but spoken on Skype and email, and appeared on one or two of his radio show or internet shows. A chap called John Curley. Now, in 2007, John co-founded the Harrisburg Area Paranormal Society in Pennsylvania, and he was telling me about a case that I asked him, actually, have you ever, in the course of your investigations, had phenomena follow you home, as it were?
Yeah.
And he told me that had happened, and he told me about an interesting case, and it came to his society's attention. I think it was in January 2013. And the phenomena had begun, I believe, in March 2012 in a house, and it comprised that the household at the time consisted of a woman whom I'll call Avril. That's not a real name.
No.
Then a boyfriend whom I'll call Bob, and Avril's daughter, whom I'll call Mary. Mary at the time was 23. Now, Bob and Avril started playing with a Ouija board in the basement of their home, and that seemed to unleash strange phenomena. There were groaning sounds in the basement, and then thousands of flies appeared on the wall of the basement, and if they were touched, they wouldn't move, but I think the family got rid of them by using a vacuum cleaner. Now, Mary started seeing figures in the house, and she'd fall into trance states and go out at all hours of the night and be found in a wooded area. And why asked why she, when she was asked why she was there, she said they wanted to go there, but she didn't specify who they were. Now Mary became increasingly distant, and then she actually got into some trouble, a breach of the a public order offence of some kind. But she would talk about, and I think this happened when she was in the trance, that she had this experience that she would be spoken to by supposedly a spirit of a young woman who'd been taken from a carnival by her boyfriend and a friend of the boyfriend's, raped and then murdered and buried in a wooded area and paved over. Now, John found out that this, by the way, she said that this had happened sometime in the 1980s, I think late 1980s. Now, John found out that a young woman, I think 17-year-old, called Tracy Marie Crow, had gone missing near a town called Millersburg in August 1989. According to some sources, the FBI, for instance, she was last seen at a trailer park about 7 miles away, but her car was found the next day in the town. Now, items from her wallet were found beside a creek in December 1993. So I think it's a fair assumption that she'd been murdered. Now, John's team visited the house and have made numerous visits apparently, and John believed they were picking up auditory phenomena, and he actually felt that eventually some of these, he was hearing a voice in his own home, help me, please help me, something like that. And he sent me some audio files pertaining to this, and I sent them out. I anonymized them. That is, I removed the captions, which might have given away what was in them, sent them to several people and asked them to listen to them and give me their impressions. But none of them actually could make out a coherent message. Some of them did hear what might have been a voice, but no coherent messages were heard. So I suspect that maybe what John was hearing was a manifestation of pareidolia, where you listen to a sort of random sound and then you think you're hearing something, but it's actually not really a true message. But leaving that aside, the interesting thing about the sort of spirit theory, would be, well, yes, this woman Mary, in her trances, she was being communicated with by a spirit, and possibly it was the spirit of Mary Crow. However, Tracy Crow, I should say. However, the interesting thing is that the communicator, if we call her that, the so-called spirit, didn't actually name herself as Tracy Crow, didn't name her murderer. And now, if she'd been murdered by a boyfriend, she would have surely known that. And now, if she'd been able to describe in some detail being abducted and taken away and raped and murdered, you would have thought that she'd be able to give her name. And you'd think she'd also be able to give the details of maybe where her body was. Now, she didn't, as far as I'm aware. So I think this is an example where I think it justifies, I'm not saying that there was nothing paranormal happening, but where the spirit explanation maybe is inadequate. And there are at least two possibilities, assuming the stories, the family weren't lying. The two possibilities. One is that the spirit communicator was a sort of secondary personality. The other possibility is that some other intelligence was portraying itself as a murder victim, but it wasn't actually Tracy Crow for a start. Perhaps wasn't any murder victim. Actually, it may have been that may have been a kind of deception. But I thought I'd cite that case as an interesting one where it's worth questioning. I think the spirit explanation.
Well, there's been a lot of people that said about, even when we do our investigations of alleged haunted places, we get a lot of people who say that we're not, that it's not possible to take them home with us, don't we, Steve?
Well, we do indeed.
It's a fear that some people have. When they say to us, "How do you know that we're closed to spirit when we left, when we leave the building, how do we know that we're not going to take anything back with us? And some people, they do, not necessarily, as you say, not necessarily going on to investigations like that, but they do feel as though they go somewhere and pick up an attraction and think that they're bringing it back to their home, so...
An interesting book came out recently by Darren Ritson and Mike Hallowell. Now, I don't know whether you know them. They were the co-authors of a book on the South Shields poltergeist case,
all right,
which goes back to 2006, a very active case in the northeast of England.
Yeah.
And they've produced another book. It's called Contagion. And they argue that in poltergeist cases, at least, that you can get a kind of spread. What happens is the poltergeist phenomena sort of can attach themselves or manifest with people who are maybe associated with the afflicted family or individuals or investigators. They cite examples of their own.
Yeah.
And they speculate that this contagion could be of either of what they call an active type or a passive. Passive contagion would be where the process of being sort of caught up in it happens a bit like catching the flu. There's no intelligence sort of deliberately targeting the victim. It's just a sort of almost a matter of chance. The other possibility is that the intelligence behind the manifestations does indeed, select other people for the contagion effect. An example was they sent some materials, some writing, poltergeist writing, to a graphologist in London. And she was looking at this material in her back garden, or in her garden, I don't know if it's a back garden, and she had a sort of distinct sense of a man, I think, in a long coat standing behind her. And it transpired that a child at the house of where the poltergeist phenomena were occurring was seeing apparitions of that a figure matching that, and this woman was quite disturbed by her experience, I think. But Ritson and Hallowell, they suggest that when contagion occurs, it tends to sort of be a bit diluted as it sort of spreads out, which is probably just as well for the likes of investigators.
Yes, I can imagine.
Interestingly, I tried to follow up on this because it intrigued me. There's a series, you've probably seen it, an American television series called Paranormal Witness.
Yeah.
And what you get in this program is the witness testimony with dramatic reenactments with actors interspersed with commentary from the witness or witnesses. And it was a if it's to be believed, it was a disturbing story. I'm just reaching for some notes because I've got a name of the person concerned. This particular program was called The Visitors, and it concerned a man called Bill, Bill Vale, who had a sort of technical background, I think, an engineering sort of background. He had a pilot's license, I don't know whether he'd been a commercial pilot or military pilot, but he certainly had some sort of a flying license. And he'd taken a job, I think he'd been divorced, and he took a job back in, I think it must have been his home area, Arlington, Texas. And he was sent out by his company to visit a property. It was something to do with a water treatment system or other. And when he got there, according to the program, the property looked rather dilapidated, and no one sort of actually greeted him, although the door was open, as I recall. He walked in, and some kind of ritual seemed to be going on, and some kind of ritual seemed to be going on, and he sort of left thinking, well, this was a sort of crank call or something, or more or less to that effect, and left and left a message with the company that he didn't intend to go back. But thereafter, he was plagued by, for years it seems, for ghostly phenomena, starting, I think, that very day. Now, the phenomena were very dramatic, and it said in the program he didn't feel he could sell the house because he couldn't stand the thought of some other family, maybe with children, something like that, was to that effect, suffering this torment.
Yeah.
But I tried to contact him. I think it was via Facebook to sort of see whether this was still going on and further information. But as in so often when I make these kinds of inquiries, I've heard nothing.
Right.
But,
Now,
I mean, if that story is true, it's quite disturbing. It wasn't an investigator, but what he seemed to think had happened, and what got the impression from the way it was created in the program, was that maybe there was a situation where someone was being plagued by some kind of entity and staged some ritual, and he was set up to be the person who would actually receive this demonic entity, or whatever we call it. So the poor chap went round there on business, and then suddenly he was sort of the spirit, the spook, or whatever it was kicked out and given to him to deal with.
Now,
but just disturbing if it's true. But obviously, as I say, I can't confirm.
Now we've got a question in the chat room for you by Beth from GPS, which stands for Ghost Finders Paranormal Society.
Yes.
She came in a bit late after you joining us, so you may have already mentioned this question, the answer to this question, but she was asking whether you believe that spirits might be interdimensional as opposed to earthbound souls of people who have passed on. So if you can just tell her in your own words, please.
I'm not sure whether there are spirits at all.
Right, okay.
What I'm suggesting is that with the phenomena that with the paranormal phenomena that we're talking about and are reported and investigated, what may be going on is there's an intelligence behind the phenomena, but it's not individual spirits.
No.
It's a higher intelligence with a tricksterish disposition, which will present the phenomena in ways that will vary the presentation. So in other words, if you go to a spiritualist medium and a spirit seemingly comes through and tells you information, and it's ostensibly from your grandmother, and the information is surprisingly accurate, it may be that it's not really your grandmother that's sending that information, it's the trickster.
Right.
The jinn.
The jinn, maybe. The genie, the jinn.
Well, I think the problem with that's an Islamic theory of a sort of race of sort of mischievous spirit beings.
Yeah.
But I'm suggesting it could just be one. I don't know.
Right.
It just might be one intelligence that can do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
One of the problems I think about the spirit theory is that, to go back to this example of your grandmother communicating through the medium, it implies a staggering degree of monitoring of you by your grandmother from the other side of the grave. Because if you go to a spiritualist meeting where there's a medium and your grandmother comes through, how does your grandmother know you're going to that meeting?
Yes.
Is she sort of monitoring you when you're, can she read your thoughts?
Yeah.
Is she looking at your diary? Is she watching every move in the house, listening to every word, tapping into every thought? And it does attribute to the single spirit of the dead human, if there are such things, a tremendous amount of monitoring capacity for her to know that you're going to be at that meeting. Therefore, I wonder whether it's a simpler theory to assume that it's what's really going on here is there's some kind of intelligence that can play games.
Yeah.
And it can portray itself as your grandmother. It can portray itself as anything it wants. It might turn up as a black dog one day, or something, or a Bigfoot the next.
Yeah.
That's not to say that I'm dismissing the idea of life after death. I don't know. I just don't know. It may be that there is life after death, but the manifestations of survival evidence that we get through mediums and so on itself isn't genuine.
No.
it may be that we shan't know that until we actually slip over the other side ourselves.
Well, on the subject of mediums, we've got a couple of guests coming on later on, well, at the beginning of November. They're talking about the highest state of consciousness, where they're actually contacting, I assume, UFOs by meditation. Now, obviously, with mediums, they meditate to correspond with their guides or whatever to be able to contact spirit. So, could this be what we're actually doing? It's somebody extraterrestrial that's we're actually contacting,
or just an energy force,
or an energy force. What do you think to that?
Well, my sort of thought is it's probably not. If there's any truth in this idea of the tricksterish higher intelligence, I don't think it's necessary to locate it somewhere else.
No.
It may be something that's always been with us.
Yeah.
It's not coming from 10,000 million miles away, or it's not even another dimension or anything like that. It may be something that's always here, that bides its time and can intervene when it chooses, and it may deliberately. Forgive me if I'm repeating what I said before when you talked about noise, but it may actually deliberately make the evidence ambiguous and unsatisfactory. You know what it's like if you get a really good case, people start going along, you get testimony, and then further people go along and it seems to stop.
Yeah.
Now, there's a kind of element of harassment, an element of frustration built into the performance. And I wonder whether that's part of the mischievous character of the trickster. To some extent, the manifestations may be even portrayed as absurd to create dissension and disbelief.
Yeah,
I think I may have mentioned to you the last time that case from, again, it was Pennsylvania, funnily enough, of the Bigfoot sightings occurring in conjunction with a UFO sighting.
Yeah.
And now some people would find it hard enough to believe in Bigfoot or even the UFOs, but when you combine the two, they just can't believe it. Now, that could be deliberate, to a kind of make people not to cause dissension, and make the evidence questioned.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got two for you. There may be actually be linking here. I was thinking myself. One, could it be actually be us that are producing it ourselves because we want it that bad? And Andy has said, what about the manifestation of a collective unconsciousness, a Jurgen concept?
Yes, a couple of points on that. I've given that quite a bit of thought. One of among present-day parapsychologists, probably with poltergeist phenomena, certainly, perhaps the most popular theory or assumption is that the phenomena are generated unconsciously by the focal person. The idea being that in poltergeist cases there's often, although not always, there's often a person around whom the phenomena seem to center. It might be someone youngish, maybe going through puberty or something like that, maybe someone about 16, a bit younger perhaps. And the assertion is that this is occurring unconsciously and they're producing it, and they call it recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. My problem with that view is that it assumes the existence of a subconscious mind, unconscious mind, whatever we call it, with fantastic powers, a knowledge and an ability to do things that our best engineers can't reproduce, matter passing through matter, very bizarre telephone effects and so on. And it suggests that this is happening unconsciously. It's ascribing to the unconscious part of the mind, if there is such a thing, powers which are far surpass consciousness, which I would describe more as a superconsciousness, to such a degree that that's why I'm inclined to think it isn't actually part of us. It may be something external. If, for instance, we did have these sort of fantastically powerful subconscious minds, what happens to them in later life after the poltergeist phenomena die away? With a lot of these cases, you don't hear much more. So it seems that this idea of a kind of highly gifted, subconscious mind is to me is less credible than a conscious or superconscious higher intelligence. And indeed, when people are foci in poltergeist cases, it could be that they're no more than a catalyst. Their presence somehow helps the phenomena to occur, but they're not actually the generator. The other possibility, and this is very speculative, I can't say this with any great certainty, is that the trickster chooses to have a focus to as a red herring to give us to put us off, to throw us off the scent. It's also worth noting, I think, that if you look at haunts and poltergeist cases, if you look at the sort of place-centered cases, which tend to be called hauntings, they too, many of them, involve physical phenomena. In fact, the distinction between hauntings and poltergeists is rather arbitrary, and many long-running cases, which seem to be associated with places rather than specific people, do involve physical phenomena. Maybe not as dramatic as in classic poltergeist cases, but certainly object movements and things like that. So presumably in that case, there isn't a sort of one person's unconscious mind or subconscious mind doing it. The idea of it being done collectively, the idea of a collective unconscious, I'm not sure with it. I found Jung, I must say, not very easy to understand. I think he wrote in a rather pretentious way, to be honest. Now, I'm not sure whether his concept of the collective unconscious was much more than just a kind of repository of collective archetypes and memories pertaining to our distant past, rather than something very active that can sort of produce very dynamic phenomena. But I did an experiment some years ago, actually, on this idea of collectively inducing phenomena. I contacted some people, and a house was chosen. The owner of the house and agreed to allow his house to be used as a target. And I produced a script which I sent out to the participants in the experiment. And they were asked to read the script and vividly imagine the events in the script actually occurring. And I sent them, I think, some photographs of the house. And the script involved a UFO sequence, a UFO coming to the house, or UFOs, and dramatic sort of UFO sighting concerning the house. And these people were asked over, I think it was a 2-week period, to spend quite a bit of time, twice a day, I think it was. I'd have to check to tell you for sure. But so the idea was that they would concentrate their minds and will this to happen. And I was interested in knowing whether this would actually generate some kind of collective psychic effect. Unfortunately, in this case, it didn't. I say unfortunately, well, it could be fortunate depending on the point of view, but there was no evidence of anything happening. Right. Which it could have just been that I'd chosen the wrong persons, the wrong target couple. They weren't sufficiently susceptible to these influences.
Peter, on your talk you did about the harassment, have you ever been harassed yourself?
No. The nearest I'd come to harassment, I sent an article. Again, I may have mentioned this to you before, but I wrote an article a while back, 2 years ago, something like that, maybe. It was on paranormal amnesia, and it was about missing time experiences. And I sent it to the magazine called The Psychologist, which is the house magazine of the British Psychological Society. Now, they take themselves very seriously. Instead of just sort of the editor making up his mind whether to publish it, it goes through a couple of stages. First of all, the editor decides whether he's going to send it on to peer review, or the editor can just throw it out there and then. Now, the editor threw out my article within a couple of days, I think it was. I mean, it was incredibly quick. And now, I wonder if the article had been a different sort of article. I mean, the article I sent was citing missing time experiences and suggesting some of these were genuinely anomalous, or they were all genuinely anomalous, perhaps, I can't remember. But now I wonder if I'd sent in an article saying, I've just conducted a study of people who report ghostly experiences, and I found that they're unusually neurotic, more prone to schizophrenic-like symptoms than the average, unreliable memories, I wonder whether that would have been okay. That would have gone to peer review and perhaps accepted. But because mine was a sort of pro-paranormal article, but I suppose, to be honest, I shouldn't be surprised because of the conservatism of official organisations like that. The reality is, though, from my rubbing shoulders with psychologists during my career, they're not all hard skeptics. I remember talking to my colleagues in the department where I worked, and they all seemed open-minded about these things and quite interested in a way. So I think it's the official line taken by journal editors and so on doesn't necessarily represent the true feelings of the membership on these things or their prejudices.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The other thing you sent us was something to do with skinwalkers. Can you tell us what a skinwalker actually is, or what it's supposed to be?
Yes, a skinwalker is in the states of the southwest USA. It's among the Native Americans. A skinwalker is regarded as a shape-shifting witch. And the idea is that if you've got someone who maybe just is attracted to going down the dark path, he or she can sort of, I don't know whether it's just men, but can go through rites and so on to become one of these things and can temporarily turn into an animal form. And the term has been used lately in connection with a ranch in I may have mentioned it to you before, a ranch in northeast Utah near a place called Fort Duchesne, Skinwalker Ranch. Now this ranch has become quite a focus of attention.
Yeah.
A book was written about it in 2005 by Dr. Colm Kelleher and George Mack, describing unusual experiences that people had had at the ranch. A family called the Shermans had been there for a couple of years, from 1994. All sorts of bizarre things happened, allegedly encounters with a strange wolf, UFO sightings, seeing some sort of portal thing in the sky, objects going missing, cattle mutilations. Now the Shermans, they sold the property to an organization, or it might have been Bigelow himself, but financed by Robert Bigelow, the American billionaire. And the organization that was then in existence, called NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science, they took it over and had scientific personnel on the site and monitoring and that kind of thing. And they too recorded anomalous phenomena. Now, the ranch is colloquially known as the Skinwalker Ranch. That's its official title, because it was said that, according to the local law, it was in the path of the Skinwalker. I'm not sure that that's absolutely true. I think the part of the ranch, there's a ridge on the north side, which I think the Native Americans avoid, but I don't think the whole of the ranch is necessarily regarded as being in the path of the Skinwalker. But the title of the Kelleher and Knapp book was Hunt for the Skinwalker, and as I say, the ranch is now known very widely by that colloquial term, the Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, the ranch also has a lot of other activity, including UFO sightings and things. What do you think to the possibilities that these skinwalkers could actually be alien visitors?
Well, again, if you look at the Skinwalker case, and if you take the stories, at face value, or even if you just categorize them, they cover the whole range, really, from cryptozoological, ghost haunt type phenomena, orbs, to UFOs, or dark helicopters. There's such a broad range of phenomena that have reportedly occurred there that I think it makes more sense, again, to come back to this trickster idea, that there's an intelligence that's manifesting itself in any way it wants to. The other possibility is that another possibility is an additional possibility, perhaps, is that I think what's happening at the moment, as far as I know, I'm not privy to the inside story, but I think the Bigelow organization still owns that ranch. They have security people there, as far as I'm aware, and I think they're probably still studying what's going on there. Now, it may be that if you've got a succession of different people working at the ranch, the phenomena that occur at any particular time may, to some extent, be person-centered. There's a book I've just finished reading, actually. I've done a review of it. It's called Skinwalker Ranch, No Trespassing by Ryan Skinner. It's the second book on the ranch. And he refers to, he apparently acquired logs, records of security people. He obviously did this obtained this through some sort of confidential source, and the experience is there. There was one particular man mentioned who seemed to be able to produce phenomena almost at will. Now, again, that in that man's case, I wonder, even if he'd been somewhere else, not on that ranch, he would have been able to produce the same effects. So it's hard to know to what extent the phenomena are person-centered or place-centered. Although, as I say, overall, over the years, that ranch has reportedly been the setting for all sorts of strange things. I get the impression that the more recent phenomena, on the whole, have been relatively tame.
Yeah.
Things such as a security man standing at the east gate and feeling a presence, a strong sense of a presence behind him, or maybe then someone getting a funny feeling, then firing off a digital camera and finding that there are lots of orbs. But then, when maybe a camera is fired off at some other time, when they don't get that feeling, there aren't any orbs. Things of that relatively minor nature, or maybe the odd item in the residential trailer being moved or temporarily disappearing, but not very dramatic phenomena such as occurred quite early. Allegedly, during the early stage when the Shermans were on the ranch, some of the phenomena were quite dramatic. There was one incident, for instance, where some bulls were in a corral at one point, and the next thing they were found shut up in I think it was a trailer or a cabin or something. So, they'd been sort of translocated, and now it's and locked into this area. And some of the UFO phenomena were quite dramatic around that time as well, reportedly.
Beth would like to know on the subject of this Skinwalker Ranch, that do you think that the recent reports at Cannock Chase could be our own Skywalker Ranch? Skinwalker Ranch, sorry. Skywalker.
Oh, sorry, I didn't actually catch that.
Oh, good, I'm glad about that, because I said it wrong. She said, do you think that the recent reports at Cannock Chase, could this be our own Skinwalker Ranch?
The honest answer is I don't know. When I was looking at the Cannock Chase case in my book, quite a few of the reports I got the impression were anonymous. Really, there would be press reports, and people had seen this stuff. And as I record, I'd have to check, but I don't think necessarily they were always named. So I'm not sure, obviously how reliable the evidence is about that.
Okay. Yeah,
it may also be that if lots of people go up to because there isn't much countryside left in the Midlands, and so Cannock Chase is a little bit where there is some. If people go there and they know about the reputation of the place, they may notice things that they wouldn't have noticed otherwise, or. So I'm not sure, to be honest, the answer to that question.
Right. Okay, Steve.
Yeah, I've heard stories where skinwalkers are actually chasing people.
Yes.
What do you think they actually want?
I don't know. In Ryan Skinner's book, he does include a few stories of that nature. Where a figure was seen running along, chasing a car, for instance, and keeping up with the car, even though the car was going quite fast for quite a distance. And it was, I think, if I remember, at least one of the stories, I'd have to check, but it was as if this entity was trying to get hold of the driver's child. Now, if one possibility, again, I don't want to bore you by keep repeating this, but that is that the whole thing again is a bit of theatre. That this is a kind of theatrical production. But unfortunately, I think in those particular instances that there was no date given. I think the witnesses weren't named. And as I recall, again, I'd have to check. I don't think I'm not sure whether even the location of these alleged events was specified. I may be wrong on that. I'd have to check.
Okay.
Yeah, the area around the ranch, and indeed even part of it, seems to be sacred to the local native tribes. Could it be that the tribes themselves are using a legend to scare people off?
I don't know, but you're right. I think the ranch lies within the boundaries of the Uinta and Ure Indian Reservation. Although I get the impression, I'm not quite sure of the details here, but I get the impression that the ranch territory itself isn't classed as tribal land. I don't know what tribal land is. Maybe tribal land is collectively owned land. So maybe within a reservation, I'm speculating here.
Yeah, but when we say tribal land, Peter, that rather depends on whether you follow what the tribe thinks is theirs and what the government says is theirs.
Yes. But I think the ranch is within this reservation. I think there is a sort of legend or story or tradition that the Ute tribe were cursed by the Navajo years ago because the Utes became involved in slave trading, and some of their victims, I think, were Navajo and were taken down to New Mexico and sold in slave markets, and a curse was put on them. Now, whether there's anything to that and whether it has any bearing on the phenomena, I'm not sure. As you say, the general area, it has a reputation, not just the area of the ranch, which is only about 3/4 of a square mile, but the general area of the Uinta Basin has a history of UFO sightings and apparently other anomalies as well.
Right. Now, one thing I want to go back on, if you don't mind, is you have a PhD in, am I right in saying?
Yes.
And is that in hypnosis?
Yes.
Right. The reason why I'm asking is because Andy's in the chat room and he's asked if we've got time to ask you, because he is an hypnotist as well. He said he would like to know what did you find in your research in your conclusions regarding hypnosis? Right.
Well, when I became interested in hypnosis in the 70s, there was a debate, and it may be still going on, as to whether there is such a thing as a hypnotic state. The traditional view was that when you expose a subject to a hypnotic induction procedure, they go into a hypnotic state, a different state, a hypnotic trance. And as a result of being in that trance, they can have certain experiences and certain things happen. Now, the alternative view, which is known as the non-state theory, was that there is no hypnotic state, and you can explain hypnotic behavior in terms of suggestion, imagination, relaxation, just a whole bunch of normal psychological processes, and that the notion of a trance isn't justified. Now, around that time, I started reading some work by an American psychiatrist called Milton Erickson, who, I think Erickson died in 1980.
Yeah.
Now, Erickson claimed he was supposed to have been a kind of quite an ingenious therapist, and he wrote a lot about hypnosis, very much from a clinical point of view, but also some experimental work. And he claimed that with hypnotized subjects, there were some strange phenomena, which you wouldn't perhaps expect. Now, these phenomena that he claimed would occur with hypnosis, not paranormal, but these phenomena that he mentioned, if they'd been real, they would have tended to suggest perhaps the genuineness of the state theory, the traditional theory. I'll give you an example. One of the things that Erickson said was that hypnotized subjects are peculiarly literal in responding to questions. So that if you have a hypnotized subject and you say to him, "Do you mind telling me your name?" Whereas normally someone will just say Jack or Bob or Mary, the hypnotized would say no, meaning he doesn't mind telling you your name. He would respond extremely literally to that. Now that seemed bizarre and strange and perhaps not what you'd expect. And I thought to myself, well, if this is true, it does perhaps suggest that something odd is happening when people are exposed to an induction procedure. So I did, as part of my research, quite a lot of experiments looking for this literalness, so-called, and essentially I didn't find it. I found very little of it at all. And I even tried asking subjects these questions in a very distorted way that would perhaps incline them to answer literally by emphasizing, do you mind telling me your name? Emphasizing the mind aspect. And still, the tendency was generally to answer it as we normally do, to the implied meaning, not the literal meaning. So that was one of the manifestations that I wasn't able to, replicate. The other thing I found about Erickson was that looking at his clinical work and his reports, some of his reports didn't seem to be entirely accurate. There did seem to be, perhaps to put it not too delicately, a degree of exaggeration, or perhaps a little bit of misreporting. Whether he'd misrecalled what had happened or not, I don't know. But some of his clinical reports were a bit sort of exaggerated, I think. He became a kind of cult figure, and as it is with death, sometimes once you're dead, you become even more of a cult figure. Then you get books. What did Erickson really mean? And all that sort of.
Yeah.
Now, I've no doubt that Erickson was an ingenious therapist in many ways. I use some of his techniques myself in my clinical work. But as I say, going back to the question about that was what the research was about. It was about the nature of hypnosis.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much about the clinical aspects of it, and it was looking at some claims of Erickson, and in general, I wasn't able to validate them.
Right. He goes on to ask, do you think that the information recovered by hypnosis is valuable, or do you think it's too suggestive a state to produce valid information?
Well, I think there has been a tendency for people to throw out the baby with the bathwater on this. I think there's little doubt from the clinical literature on hypnosis. I'm not talking about the paranormal here, of course. Yeah. That it can sometimes be useful in breaking down barriers, bringing out memories and recall, and so on. Now, there is certainly some evidence suggesting that hypnotically elicited testimony can be false to some degree, and because you are dealing perhaps with suggestion and imagination, and it might be even indirect suggestions from the hypnotist, or an implied coercion could affect the way the answers come. I think that's the reason why a lot of people who have reacted against the idea of using hypnosis with alien abduction reports. But I'm not as absolute about that. I think that perhaps if hypnosis is used, it might be best to try and collect as much evidence as possible without using hypnosis, and then maybe once you've exhausted all other avenues, if there might be a case for using hypnosis, but then treating the evidence obtained via hypnosis with a certain degree of caution.
Right. Okay.
But not dismissing it wholly and saying it's all fantasy. It's all, being suggested by the hypnotist and so on.
I've been corrected. Andy's actually a psychotherapist, not a hypnotist. But on the subject that you've just been talking about, what's your take on past life regression? Do you think that's a form of hypnosis, or?
I beg your pardon, sorry.
Do you think it's a form of hypnosis? Suggestion and that?
I don't want to be too absolute about this. I suspect that in some cases, at least, it is suggestion.
Yeah.
It is suggestion. If, again, I would suggest that possibly if, with general reincarnation evidence, what could be happening again is the trickster. So if you get people sort of coming up with memories that whether it be through hypnosis or just simple recall in children of a previous life in another village, and then the parents make inquiries and visit the village and find that, yes, indeed, the child's memories coincide with the life of someone who passed away there just around the time the child was born. One could see that very literally, that a soul had sort of transmigrated from one body into another and was now recalling the past life. Another possibility, and I can't dismiss that, but another possibility is, as I say, the trickster is putting in that information into the mind of the child who's having the memories, and there isn't actually reincarnation, and this is another one of these trickster phenomena.
Yeah. So we've been speaking to you now for over an hour, and I really appreciate you giving us your time. But I was just wondering, since the book about Zones of Strangeness, is there anything that's coming in the future from you?
No, I was actually thinking of doing a book on road ghost experiences, but I've kind of parked it, or even sort of actually forgotten it. Yeah. The reason I've decided not to proceed is I thought it was going to be difficult for me to get enough new material to justify it.
Yeah.
If I'm just sort of rehashing stuff that's already out there, I've written a bit about this already.
Yeah.
But I find it's difficult to get much new material. And I think the problem with it would be it would involve an enormous amount of time going to libraries to dig out the original press reports, because that's actually where some of these things sometimes come from. That someone will report in a book that Joe Smith had this experience. It was reported in the Brighton Argus on the 3rd of November 1974, and in order to get that original article, I imagine it might be difficult. You might have to go to Brighton and spend ages, or I'm not sure whether it would be available at regional libraries, but in some cases I doubt it. And I suspect that even then the evidence the details might be sketchy, because local reporters may not be wanting to present their material in the most sort of useful way from an evidence seeker. So I thought it might just not be worth the candle, really.
Right. Okay. And on your subject in your last book, whereabouts can people get it from, and what is it actually called again?
It's called Zones of Strangeness, and it's subtitled An Examination of Paranormal and UFO Hotspots. Mm-hmm. The easiest way is probably just to go onto Google.
Yeah.
Go to Google it, or to go to Amazon. You can get it from Amazon. You can get it from the publishers themselves, Author House. I'm not sure what the cheapest way is. I think if you get it from Author House, you may. I don't know. I don't know whether I think it might be cheaper than Amazon, but I'm not sure whether you have to pay for delivery.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with books over a certain amount with Amazon, you get free delivery, don't you? So,
yes.
But that's probably the easiest way to do it.
And briefly, what can people find out in there?
Well, it's the book. The book's got a substantial introductory section, an overview of the paranormal. It's got a chapter on hauntings and poltergeists, quite a lot of detailed discussion of theories.
Yeah.
There's a background chapter on the UFO phenomenon. There's a short introductory chapter on the Bigfoot phenomenon, and then it goes into various areas in Britain in some considerable detail, which in the past, if not now, have had alleged hotspot status.
Yeah.
And it evaluates, it looks at the evidence, tries to look at the evidence dispassionately, and weigh it up. And then the final chapters, I look at the United States. I look at selected areas in the United States, including, for instance, the Skinwalker Ranch, places in an area, the Yakima Indian Reservation in Washington State, and other areas. And then there's a chapter on Puerto Rico, mm-hmm. which has allegedly been, quite an active area for strange phenomena for some time. And then there's a chapter on the Bermuda Triangle, and then I mentioned a couple of other places, a forest in Romania and an area in southern Australia. They're just brief sections. I don't have a great deal of material on those particular areas.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Dr. McCue, I should say, Peter, if you do get anything coming up in the future, please don't hesitate to let us know. We'll be happy to talk to you about it and get it out there for you. And I'd just like to thank you again for your time. It's been really a pleasure talking to you about your research and everything. And I hope you've enjoyed talking to us too.
Yes, I have. Thank you very much.
And as I say, I wish you all the best of luck on your future endeavours, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good night.
No, Peter.
Good night.
Well, that was Mr. Peter McCue, or Dr. Peter McCue.
Peter
so
McCue, yes.
I hope you enjoyed that
Right,
conversation.
before you go anywhere,
Okay.
we were talking about the old skinwalkers there.
You have to bear with me.
Yeah.
I've got a dog underneath here. Oh. Oh,
You're being slowly gassed. There you go.
I am.
Okay, the legend of the Navajo skinwalker. The Navajo skinwalker legend is one of the more complex and terrifying stories steeped in mystery and evil intent. Many Navajos believe firmly in the existence of skinwalkers and refuse to discuss them publicly for fear of retribution. They believe skinwalkers walk freely among the tribe and secretly transform under the cover of night. The term, here we go, Mr. Tongue Twister again.
Tongue twister again.
V Nadal Dushi.
Yeah, right.
It's got two eyes at the end, so I don't know how you pronounce that one. Literally translates to, with it, he goes on all fours. According to a Navajo legend, a skinwalker is a medicine man or witch who has attained the highest level of priesthood in the tribe, but chose to use his or her power for evil by taking the form of an animal to inflict pain and suffering on others.
All right.
To become a skinwalker requires the most evil of deeds, the killing of a close family member. They literally become humans who have occupied immense supernatural power, including the ability to transform into animals and other people. According to the Navajo skinwalker legend, these evil witches are typically seen in the form of a coyote, an owl, fox, wolf, or crow. Although they have the ability to turn into any animal they choose, because it is believed that the skinwalker wears the skin of the animal they transform into, it is considered taboo to wear the pelt of any animal. In fact, Navajos are only known to wear two hides, sheepskin and buckskin, both of which are only used for ceremonial purposes. Those who have talked of their encounters with the evil beings describe a number of ways in which a skinwalker will try to inflict harm. Some describe hearing knocks on windows and bangings on walls. Others have spotted an animal-like figure peering in through a window. According to Navajo skinwalker legend, they are seldom caught. Those who do track a skinwalker and learn of their true identity must pronounce the name of the evil one in full. Once this happens, the skinwalker will get sick or die for the wrongs they have inflicted against others. And that is the legend of the Navajo skinwalker.
Okay, well, it's quite an interesting subject that we were talking about, and I must admit that the topic that he said about monitoring and harassment of anomaly researchers, there are, like I said, how many times have we actually come back or finished an investigation and people have said, we're not going to take these home, are we? And which is what he was going on about, wasn't it?
You do get a few, but I mean, like I said on there, if you've been doing them for a while, I feel that you do actually pick up bits of energy.
Yeah.
Not a spirit.
No.
But little bits of energy, and after a while it gets a bit heavy. And I know Andy said it's just
placebo.
But doing a smudging and that then does seem to help.
Yeah. Okay. We'll be back in a short while, so bear with us.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
You're listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show with Steve and Suzanne Taggart, covering the supernatural, the paranormal, and other strange phenomena to keep the paranormal friendly.
Yeah, well, we're back now, and oh, hello. Somebody's got kennel cough still. So, all right. So, got a bit of kennel cough. I don't know who it is. Somebody did it for me. I had to pay for it.
Yeah. And
but I'm waiting for another bit as well.
Beth, no, we're not members of Pigs, but they do have a good.
No, we're actually UK Shadow Seekers.
They do have a good shop, don't they?
We're part of UK Shadow Seekers, aren't we, Steve?
We are, but Pigs do have a good paranormal store. We actually use them ourselves sometimes.
Yes, we do.
They are reasonably priced, and
apparently they've just got back in the REM pods.
They just got REM pods back in.
So I might have to get another one.
Cool, and they do deliver rather quickly.
Yeah, Tim is a nice bloke, I must admit. Very amenable.
Yeah, he normally gets it out to you within 2 days, doesn't he?
Andy says it sounds like a porn phone line voice. Not that he'd know how that sounds.
Yeah.
Is the missus watching what you're typing? I don't know. But John said, "Spooky, you don't know who the woman is." No, I don't.
Afraid not.
But I don't know.
It took us a while to get that, I tell you.
Yeah, we're waiting for another bit to come. So
because it's done in America.
Yes.
They were very phonetic of where they were saying.
Yeah,
things.
we was going to get them to mention the extra bit in the intro about Craig Winos Castle.
Yes, and
it was Craig Winos.
Yes.
No, Craig Winos.
Yeah,
Castle.
Craig Winos.
Craig Winos, and I thought, no, forget it. Don't worry about it.
That's what they called your Castle Viscount.
Craig Winos.
Craig Winos.
No, yeah, Craig Winos Castle, and then they had mosthaunted.com. And I thought, no. So we had to say, don't bother about that.
And he's just said he knows somebody that does it.
Does he?
No, he tells us.
No, he tells us. So, could have saved me some money.
Believe me, you don't want to.
I don't know. Well, it's that time again, guys. So
we've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Yes, definitely. Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Yeah, so first up off the rank, on the 18th of October, this one's just come in, I wonder why, there's an offer for you to come on a scary journey with From the Other Side to find the black-eyed child of Cannock Chase. They'll be spending the evening outside in the thick woodland. Would you want to do that in the middle of October? Where many sightings of the phenomena has appeared. Cannock Chase is a much-known hotspot to which strange things exist. Put the glasses on, I might see, and occur on a daily basis, such as the black-eyed child, Bigfoot, UFO sightings, and the pig man, plus many more. So there you go. And you never know, Beth, it could be our version of the Skinwalker, couldn't it?
We are actually going to pop down there ourselves, aren't we?
Yes.
Soon.
In a warmer climate.
Mind you, it's not that cold now at the moment.
No, not really. On the 25th of October, there's a charity ghost hunt at the Rotunda in Liverpool, organised by the Old Swan and Knotty Ash fundraising group, and it's hosted by us at UK Shadow Seekers, and it's for the Mary Curie Cancer Research Society. I'm not sure what it's actually called, but it's a northern thing, I think. Blackpool.
It's called Marie Curie.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And it's national.
Oh, is it? Okay.
You might have individual areas doing their own bit, but it's a national charity.
Right, it's for Mary Curie.
Yeah, it's a cancer charity.
Blackpool Zoo Halloween Ghost Tour. You can find out more at www.supernaturalevents.co.uk, and also Halloween Blackpool Ghost Walk. On the 31st, these are all on the 31st now. You've got a spectacular night at Strutt's Community Centre in Belper, Derby, where high spirits will be conducting ghost hunt, mediumship, tarot, palm and tea leaf reading with a raffle and much, much more. A bit of a night with a difference. Feel free to dress for the occasion. There's also a Halloween ghost hunt at the Gloucester's Blackfriars Priory with personal paranormal. UK Shadow Seekers are at Hay Hall, Wigan on the 31st. And from the other side are doing a haunted ghost hunt at the Griffin Inn in Bark Island, Halifax, or Barkisland, whichever you pronounce it. Then there's Blackpool North Pier Theatre, Halloween overnight ghost hunt with supernatural events.co.uk. For more information on these and other events, visit paranormaleventsforyou.com. So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events, available now. Paranormaleventsforyou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. Paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Yeah, so don't forget, if you have got any events, it doesn't matter whether you're in the UK, the USA, or even in Europe.
Yeah, anywhere in the world, just
put them on there because it is a global lost name, and we do mention everybody's events for that particular month every week on the show. And don't forget, if you are a paranormal group and fancy popping onto the show and talking about your group and what you do and what you don't do and where you've been and where you haven't been, then let us know. Contact us at admin@ktpf.co.uk.
Yeah, maybe Beth could come on and tell us about her group.
You never know. So, but as I say, it's she said she could do me an advert as well. Or she said she could do one for free. I wish I'd known that before I paid. But as I say, it's getting there. Paranormal events, isn't it? But I think it's getting a bit slack for the end of the season.
Yes, coming to the end of the year, we need to chase the ones up.
Yes,
because like us, they should already be booking for next year.
Yes,
so if they're doing that, they should have the events ready to go on.
Oh yes, I've got to put mine on. So I'm as bad.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah, have a look at that one, Beth. If you do events yourself, go on to Paranormal Events for You, and it is free. You do have to have a website, so you can put your link on, and no prices because we don't want competition.
No, this is it.
It's not about competition.
Just a web link.
What's it about?
It's about collaboration.
That's the word.
Remember,
collaboration, not competition.
This is it. So this is what we've been doing for the past couple of years, trying to keep the paranormal friendly. The show is recorded for radio replay purposes on our YouTube channel. Yeah. So a big hello to all those that are listening to the replay. And again, we'd like to apologise for last week with the live stream letting us down. But I took it a bit hard and thought I'd let you down.
Yeah.
But
the one time you didn't have a backup ready.
Yeah, and today I've got a backup ready, and it's looking fine. So, but as I say, I did beat myself up a bit, didn't I?
You did. Not your fault.
No, it wasn't.
You can't control live stream, unfortunately.
No, this is it. It's an American company,
and they do their things when
we're performing. Broadcasting, whatever you want to call it. So, but anyway, just to let you know that next week, even though we couldn't get Paul Dale Roberts, or we could get him on the show, but we couldn't get him to you last week, he's going to be coming back on the show. But, before I tell you about him, I'm going to tell you we're going to have two guests on next week. The first one is Jason Chapman, and because we've had to move things around a bit because somebody had to somebody double booked themselves. Jason's going to be talking about UFO sightings and his book. He was born in the United Kingdom in the South Wales market town of Abergavenny in 1970, and he's always been fascinated with science and unexplained. And during the 90s, he researched a lot of UFO sightings both in the UK and in the United States. In 95, he embarked on a road trip to the state of Nevada to learn the truth about Area 51. A massive fan of the X-Files and Dark Skies and science fiction, Jason started to write in the early 90s articles for various UFO and paranormal-themed magazines. In 2012, he decided to publish on Kindle, because he discovered Kindle, and set about writing the Angel Committee developing an entire franchise focusing on the UFO phenomena and the government cover-up. Jason has also written an ongoing short story called Tales from Majestic, set in the wake of the Roswell incident of 1947, and also a tie-in with the Angel Committee. So it's going to be a long show next week, as I say, because we're also going to be having Paul Dale Roberts on from Fresno in California.
Yeah, he's going to come on and join us. A big thank you to him, because obviously he was due to be on with us last week, and he's agreed to come on next week instead.
And he's going to tell us about his investigations. He's got plenty to talk about, and he's going to be delving in the world of the paranormal with true interviews, investigations, and monster hunts as well.
And Beth has just said she wonders if the problems last week were due to the same server that took down the Gralian report. SMS was buggered. Maybe it was.
Maybe it was. So I'll be in Manchester second week of November. I'll call in for a brew and another photo from the hub. I lost the other one I took. Strange.
Paranormal.
Well, if you're here on a Sunday night, you could actually come in and be part of the show. Couldn't you, Mr. Viscount? We'll set you up on a chair and you can ask questions from here.
Give you a mic. You can do your thing.
So you could do that as well. Save asking questions, or you can just listen in as an audience.
And how did it go? Did you get some volunteers?
For what?
You was asking for volunteers the other week, wasn't
you? Yeah.
Lovely.
Count me in. How did you go with your volunteers that you wanted for the Thursday before Halloween, Viscount? Did you get some? You wanted people to dress up, didn't you? And be part of a bit of a show. Yep.
Yeah, you got 25.
Got 25. That's
excellent.
Cool. That's
and
good.
Andy, the green wheels were delivered by one of our team members. They are the missing camera reels.
Camera reels.
All the cables for the cameras. And,
yes.
First place the problem I got to fix one and find a new home for them.
They're only up that high is because they're sitting on top of the dog cage. So that's why they're there. So, but
and the wheels feed the machines.
We'll be taking the dog cage down today, because after last night I don't think she'll be sleeping in the cage.
No, not on top of the dog. On top of a dog cage, Andy.
Are they for sale? No, they're not for sale.
No, they're part of our
second hub.
Our second hub.
Yeah. Okay. So
because we have two hubs, 4 cameras on each.
Yeah. So don't get to use them very often.
The dog is. Where is she?
She's under there. She's she's Kipping. They say she's a JRT, but I think she's a cross Chihuahua.
Yeah, we think she's got some Chihuahua. She's a lovely little thing. She's 6 years old.
I think she's been somebody's princess.
Yes, I think she's been somebody's princess as well. But
somebody wants to see you. Come on. She's a bit unsure because I've been pushing her down. Come on in.
Yeah, she's for sale, but it's through the RSPCA.
Oh, right. You don't want to come up now.
Don't want to come up. It will cost you in the region of £100.
Yes.
Which includes vaccinations, chipping, spaying. Sorry.
Yeah. First injections,
everything else.
Mind
you, I would assume that she's already had them because she's 6 years old.
Yeah, microchips.
She's a bit shy until she gets to know you, though.
Yeah. So
takes her a little while.
We do foster for the RSPCA, so do quite a bit really in our small time, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do fostering for the RSPCA. We run our own group.
Yes.
We run paranormal events for you.
We try and keep things friendly.
We do this show. My little cottage industry, and not earning a penny from it. It's all, as I say, it's all non-profit.
Beth said if she didn't have 4 dogs, a dog, 4 cats, and a fox.
Oh, she's got a fox. Bless her. So that's how we got our Roxy. So she's down there being quiet. Would you like to hear my story now? Yeah, go on then, Andy. Why don't you give us a ring? Tell us your story. Come and Skype me. Or are you calling me? Calling me or Skyping me? What are you doing? Well done to me. Thank you.
It's going to do one of them.
What are we doing? Are we Skyping? Are we calling? Are we calling? Are we Skyping?
Oh,
hello.
we do our best, Beth.
Good evening.
Hello.
Andy.
How are you?
Right. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Oh, hello.
Finally got this working properly, even on my Mac. It's I know someone else said they had problems with Skype earlier, but I had to reinstall the whole thing. And updated recently, and I didn't have the update. It's now working.
Funny that, because that's what Peter said you have to do. You have to.
Yeah, it was Peter, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, yeah, I just thought I'd tell you guys about a rather strange encounter both Mandy and I had kind of separately last Monday night. I've been up in up London for a book launch. A friend of mine's written on a book. He's written an article for a book, and I came back from that about 11:30. And Mandy was coming back from a friend's house and was going to pick me up outside Basildon Station. Now, just sort of past the station, there's a car park where she usually picks you up from. It's easier, you can't get right to the station because it's not on the road.
Yeah.
And there's a stretch of road no more than a few hundred yards long that runs beside a car park with quite high trees.
Mm-hmm.
And looking about halfway along the path, must have been 100 yards from me or so, I couldn't make out what the hell I was looking at. It seemed to be kind of, I don't know, about 5 footish, kind of quite wide, stocky. And I was trying to work out if it was just the trees or it was my eyes or what it was. But it was really strange. It was just sort of there. And then as I looked, it started moving. And it was like someone walking without bending their knees. Yeah, exactly, Beth. That's what it looked like. It was walking without bending its knees. If you tried saying it was doing that, like moving your hips, it was moving quite slowly. And I thought, is it coming towards me or walking away from me? And I thought, what the bloody hell? It must have stood there for a good 5-10 minutes before it started moving. And as I'm looking up the road, Mandy is coming along the road in a car.
Mm.
And she drove past, and I said to her, she pulled up, did you see that? She scared the life out of me. Just suddenly started moving. I said, what was it? I don't know. She said, I couldn't really tell. Like maybe a man, but it was quite dark. It was between like lights. We couldn't really see. Anyway, I looked up, and it was still walking definitely away from us. We'll say fairly slowly. And the time it took me to get in the car, put the seatbelt on and close the car and look back, it'd gone. And as you went round the roundabout to go back up, because you have to go back up the same road, there's no sign of it. I mean, at the speed it was walking, there was no way it could have made it to the end of the road and disappeared off into the distance, because it just wasn't moving that fast enough. It was beside the trees, but amongst the trees there's a very high wire fence, because there's a car park the other side, so he couldn't have gone through those.
No.
So we were both like, what the hell is that? Viscount's asking what he was wearing, I couldn't see it. It was just dark. It was really just a dark figure from where, on my perspective.
So,
Mandy driving, she drove.
So, are you saying it was possibly a shadow person?
No, I don't know what it was. It was, say, tall, no more than 5 foot at the most, and it was pretty wide. It was, it would have been, if it were a human, it'd be like very, very overweight.
Yeah.
But it's just a weird way. It walked like it had no knees. It just sort of wobbled from side to side. It's really, I mean, I tried doing it myself. If you try standing up and walk without bending your knees, you have to lift yourself by your hips and sort of throw yourself backwards and forwards.
I'm not making myself look stupid.
There's a leprechaun.
He does it rather silly trying to act himself, but it was really odd. As I say, I couldn't really see any face or features from my side, and because it was dark, when he just sort of happened to catch a glimpse of it as she drove past it.
Beth just says, wasn't there a story recently about someone seeing what looked like a goblin here in the UK, so I'm assuming Beth's in the UK, chasing a train?
Yeah, she is now.
Oh, right.
She's been ironic to you is he's walking beside the railway tracks. It would be beside the railway tracks. So you've got car park one side, then you've got the road, then the park this was on, and then the bushes, and then the fence of the railway track.
Wow.
Just walking along beside the railway track. But, I mean, as we got past, there was just no sign of it. There was no way he could have moved that fast to have just got out of sight. He could have got into the bushes because they don't go anywhere. There's a big fence in the way. And they had to walk to the car park the other side, you still see it. It was really quite odd.
Yeah. Well, So, have you figured anything out since then? Have you you just forgotten about it since?
Well, not really, been quite busy weeks. I don't get a lot of thought, but it's just, I remember this afternoon just talking to Mandy about sort of what we're doing this week, and I suddenly thought, oh, God, did that thing last Monday.
Well, Beth has said that she recalled something about that it was by a railway track in a flooded area.
Okay.
So
our lines are slightly raised up from the roadway, and then it goes onto a bridge, so it's above road level, so it wouldn't get flooded around there, so not so related to water. But as I say, because it was kind of between streetlights, you really couldn't see any features at all from where I was standing.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just a big bin. that was sort of just left there. I thought, that's really weird. Like a huge bin bag. It was really strange. Well, Beth, don't believe anything from before it's news.
Yeah, well, this is it.
Yeah,
So,
that's the links before it's news, but before it's news is written by anybody at any time for any reason. They create any story they like and put it on there. But yeah, it was definitely bloody. Oh my god! There's a picture of this sort of Scandinavian folklore troll. I mean, possibly. It was just very dark. As I say, the thing itself was very dark. I couldn't make out any sort of clothing distinctiveness or features or hair or anything. Just this sort of walking blob, really. But it was just the way it walked. That was the really strange thing about it. I say, like it had no knees. So I don't know what it was. And why it was standing there. I mean, it must have been a good 10 minutes it stood there. And as far as I could tell, it didn't turn away from me, so it wasn't looking in my direction when it started walking. But at first, I couldn't even tell which direction it was going. It was just strange. It was a really odd thing to see. So there you go. So I thought I'd mention that.
According to this article, trolls are not very keen on humans, so walking away from you would be would kind of fit.
That makes sense. I mean, there's nobody else about. There's a taxi rank nearby, and ironically, there's no taxis actually on it. So I couldn't even say if anyone over there had seen it, but they'd have been too far away to have seen it. It was just really strange.
Well, I just Googled it, but I'm not seeing anything. Well, have you found it?
Yeah, Buzzard Control.
Oh, did she?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Let's put a link on for us.
Well, that was nice of her. But then again, you never know. It could have been something that Paul Dale Roberts could have put, because I think he's part of that. I think he writes for that as well. But yeah.
That's obviously before it's news. It is anybody can write anything and put it on there. I mean, pretty much competition to see who could come up with.
So I wonder whether it was something that you've
seen. Possible. I don't know what it was. I just tried Basil and a troll and came up with something, but it's actually trolling the internet troll, not troll as in small squat figure.
Yeah. Beth just put a disclaimer up saying she don't read before the news. Before it's news.
So, on John Blackburn's Mysterio Paranormal site, there's a couple of people who regularly post stuff from before it's news on there, and it's like, you stop doing that because it's absolute drivel. It's literally anyone can sign up and write anything on there, and they'll publish it because that's the way it works, you know.
One thing I have found.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Ignore what I just said. I didn't read it properly.
Wrong kind of troll, like I just read.
Yeah, wrong type of troll. Yes. So I just saw a troll found dead, and I thought, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
That's what I saw as well.
So, but you'll have to listen out for it.
What was the one that you found? What kind of troll were they talking about?
They were on about the woman that died that was pestering McCann's.
Yeah,
that kind of troll. Yeah.
She probably committed suicide.
Yeah, so
I'll keep quiet on that one.
Yeah, but
I plead the fifth.
I think people do see these type of creatures, don't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there are reports of them, but to me, it was physical. It was a real phenomenon. It was a physical person.
Maybe we should call Ronan.
Yeah, maybe we should call Ronan and see what he says about it.
Write a song about it. That's how mentally. I'm one of those moods tonight.
Do you not remember Ronan?
No.
He talked about the Irish thing, didn't he?
It was our Irish friend that used to be a teacher.
Yes. Went on for quite a long time about that sort of stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know. The only thing I could think of, sort of looking at a human level, was it was some kind of dwarf, because he was no more than 5 foot, and obviously there's something wrong with his legs. That's the only thing I could think of. Perhaps his legs in braces, but it was just a weird way it moved.
Don't suppose you could have possibly seen exactly that. A proper person. A dwarf person.
Well, he could, but wouldn't it have still been on the road when they?
Yeah,
that's the point. He was moving too slowly.
Yeah.
Would have to have continued along the rest of that path, which is a good half mile, crossed the major road, and then walked through some bushes area, or some grassy area, if you like, and then past trees. Have to move pretty damn fast, because as I got in the car and looked back, there was no sign of it, and we took us no more than a minute or two to go around the roundabout because there was nobody else about.
Yeah,
no sign of it. We got to the road. There was no sign of him anywhere. And I mean, I'm resident of this town for all my life. I mean, I go out and about quite a lot. I've never seen anybody who looked like that in this town. There used to be a guy who was very much a dwarf and quite well built, but that was many years ago, and it wasn't him because he walked fairly normally. It's this weird way. It's almost as if he had like both legs were in braces that were holding them solid, like two broken legs trying to walk on those. It was just the swaying side to side without using the knees. It was the really weird thing. And there you go.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
By the way.
So,
Everything else has been fairly quiet over here. Not much has been going on. Not involved in anything at the moment. I've managed to get a book that I have been waiting for a very long time, that I paid for back in May, that finally turned up last week.
oh yeah.
It's quite nice. Extremely rare volume. It's only recently been published, but it's already out of print and very hard to get hold of. Put a little post on my Facebook page about it. The thing's A4 size, 5 centimetres thick. Pages is enormous. It's a work by a guy called Andrew Chumley, who was quite a serious occultist who used to live in the Essex area. Passed away in his late 20s. Died of a massive asthma attack, unfortunately. He was badly asthmatic. He's written several books, Azoisha, Kitab, and The Grimoire of the Golden Toad. He's like one of those real serious, full-on, heavy-duty occultists. And his book, The Dragon Grimoire, was written quite a few years ago, but it was all in segments, and his publishers, which is also a friend of his, have finally put the book together and published it. So it's already I paid 139 quid when it first came out. It now retails 180 odd new if you can get a copy. If not, it's over £300 on eBay. So it's going to go up and up and up. So
right, okay.
I'm rather pleased to get a hold of that, I must admit. It's called The Dragon Book of Essex. So yeah, I have a copy, really.
So, and we're going to get you on the first show in January, I believe.
Yes, that's part of the reason why I'm just mentioning that as well, because we can talk about perhaps the witchcraft and folklore magic we were talking about previously. That was going to come on and talk about in case the other show, considering that Paranormal Company, who shall not be named, went wrong. So we can definitely do that. Has there been any comeback on that, by the way?
What's
about
that?
You Know Who Paranormal?
Pardon?
Has there been any comeback on that You Know Who Paranormal?
No.
No, not heard a thing.
Not heard a thing.
Oh.
I think it's a case of, as I say, because they've now moved to South Ireland, everybody on the UK side are saying we can't touch them. But I think that the powers that be, that,
last we heard that
community-wise,
they were waiting for the girder to do something.
Yeah, I think they're pushing it over that side, so they're hoping that something will be done that side.
Can I just quickly address something that Beth's just posted? Quite interesting. She mentioned a bookshop called Treadwell's in London, which I absolutely love. That's where I was on the Monday night at Treadwell's at a book launch.
Right.
Yeah. She's saying that Treadwell's do occasionally get stuff in from Zoannon's the publisher.
Yeah.
And stuff, but it's all very limited print runs, all pretty damn rare. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the picture that you put on your Facebook?
Yes, that big red book.
Weird and wonderful bookshop worldwide.
You went to the book launch last Monday, is that what you're saying?
No, you've just put a picture on there saying potential holiday destination.
Oh, that's Mandy. Underneath.
I can believe it for you, yeah.
Ironic, she knew what best writing is. She knew you went to the same book launch I was at on Monday.
So, really weird because you came up here for the weekend, and where did you want to go? A bloody bookshop.
The collection's massive here, a few thousands.
I don't know.
Really wonderful books.
You have to come back up again as well.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as I've sorted something out.
We'll get together and put our heads together and see what we're going to talk about first show back.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about the witchcraft stuff if you want to.
That might be an idea, yeah.
I mean, we have to waffle about anything, so we could do like 2 shows in one, sort of half,
we could do.
And then change subjects. We'll talk about Jung and the unconscious, because I would like to address some of the points that the doc made.
Yes.
Didn't really agree with them. I mean, you know me, I made a massive study of that myself.
Yeah.
The basics of the way I used to work.
Go on then, tell me what you didn't agree with.
Well, his characterisation of the... No, I don't, Beth, unfortunately. I never get a chance to. Characterisation of the Jung idea of the effective unconscious, it was very passive, as if it was just one of those things that's just a possibility. In my own experience of working with people using sort of deep analysis, which uses the effective unconscious, we tap into that level. It's very dynamic, very active. It's the source of a lot of our ideas of mythology and dreams, imagery that comes to us. It's it's something that's actively involved within everybody.
Yeah.
Start to address those levels, because there's one particular element of the effective unconscious called the shadow self. It's kind of like all the things about yourself you don't really like, which you try and bury and hide away from.
Yeah.
But in the process of Jungian analysis, you have to then face up to those shadow self. You have to deal with those negative elements within yourself, and that's very active. It's very involved. It's not just some sort of passive wellhouse of information. I mean, one way the collective unconscious is described as being like a giant library that you can just walk into and find a book and pull the book out. But there is that element to the idea, but it's deeper than that. There's more to it than that. It's not like the Ascartic records or whatever they're bloody called. They're not that kind of almost like celestial library. It's a deeper concept of how the human mind is interconnected with each other, and it's at this very deep level. And it does kind of fit into some ideas that explain paranormal activity quite well in terms of what the doc was saying about it all being essentially it's the same thing, whether it's UFOs, ghosts, or whatever. Pardon me. And to me, there is a lot of validity to those ideas, but I say his characterization of the collective unconscious as being somehow sort of empty and passive, and just being like a big library was underselling it somewhat, I think.
So you're going back to the first show of 2015. Do you think you'd be sober enough after the New Year?
I don't drink.
Oh, that's all right then.
You don't laugh, I don't drink.
That's all right then. I know we will be.
Yeah, hopefully working too. So that's going to be a nice.
Yeah, well, we hope you are working. You know. But, well, thanks a lot, my darling, and I'll keep in contact. We'll speak to you soon.
Indeed.
All
okay,
right,
see you soon, guys.
Bye.
See you, mate. And for those of you on the replay who was wondering what we were talking about when it comes to trolls and stuff, this was put in the Cryptozoology News. A 25-year-old student who spoke on a condition of anomaly. Why do I do this all the time?
Anomaly.
Anomaly, it says, told Cryptozoology News that he saw a troll-looking creature running erratically across the flooded field in Farnland last week on a train headed for London. I came home to the village to visit my parents before going back to London, he said. I planned to stay in longer, but I was afraid the trains would be cancelled. On his way back to the country's capital, he explained an incredible occurrence took place. You've got to see it to believe it. I fell asleep a few times. I was zonked. When I woke up, the sun was almost down. I looked through the window on my left, and I thought I'd lost the plot. I see a 3-metre tall fat bloke running through the soggy fields, water up to his knees. I was gobsmacked. Then things got weirder. As the strange figure approached the slow-running train, the witness was able to observe its face at close range. I thought it was a person until it got closer to the train. We were going very slow speed because of the surrounding water. It wasn't a man. I don't know what it was, but it had hair all over its body, a bald face and chest. The eyes reminded me of a gorilla, but it had long ears like a wolf, short white horns. I wasn't sure if I was still dreaming. Other passengers on the train also saw the creature, he said. I remember talking to a young boy and his mum. There weren't many people travelling that day. It's usually quite empty during the week. Then the train allegedly sped up and the creature was left behind. No, I wasn't dreaming, mate. I know what a bear looks like, and it wasn't. It looked more like a troll. Remember the Lord of the Rings? The men said no pictures or videos of the sighting were taken. Well, mate, I was quite surprised. Like I said, you don't have many times when you see things like that running after you train. That if you Google troll on a train, like Beth did, you will be able to see the full story there, because I've only talked about part of it.
Well, guys, if you want to keep up with us during the week, you can find us on Facebook, which is just under the KTPF Community Talk Show. We have a page there as well as a group for the actual talk show itself, where we add bits and pieces. The live page just actually gives us updates on what's happening on the show and stuff. Don't forget, you can also join the forum, which has got loads and loads of topics in there for you to look through and add to. And there's also a section in there where you can introduce yourself in various regions. So for instance, the Paranormal World, they can go in there and South Wales or whatever it is, and put their details in, stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to do that for us and have a look in there and maybe start your own topics as well.
Viscount, what Facebook link are you referring to?
You said the one I just mentioned.
All right.
What's the link for the forum, please? If you go to the top of the page on the website
that you're already on, it
will say discussion area. So that's where you'll find the forum.
Just click in there, and
I think that's what it says anyway.
it does say.
Yeah.
It does say
Third one in discussion area. So if you go there, and you'll find it.
Yeah, you will have to join, but apart from that,
I'm on live stream playing. You'll find it on the web page. Okay. If you go to the web page at www.ktpf.co.uk, and you'll find it. So that's about it for tonight. Please remember that next week will be a long show because of the 2 guests that we're coming on. And okay, so expect it to be about 2.5, 3 hours long. Okay, and so we hope you've enjoyed tonight and look forward to having your company again. 8 p.m. Oh, hang on, he's back. 8 p.m. Yes. Oh, hang on, he's back. 8 p.m.
Hello, sorry, 2 things very quickly.
Go on then.
Just posted up there, but yeah, it had the kind of proportions of a Lego man. If you imagine a Lego figure human-sized and moved as if it was a Lego man with like no bending knees.
Right, okay. We're going back to this thing that you saw, aren't we?
Yeah, that was it. Lego man. He was the kind of size and proportions of a Lego man.
He walked a bit like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz.
A bit like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz?
No, Lego.
Lego.
The way he walked.
Lego figure. You know what Lego
I've
is.
never seen the way the Lego man's walked.
Can you imagine the Lego man?
I've never seen a Lego man walk either.
Walk from side to side. That's
right. Okay. So like one-dimensional.
They wobble.
Proportion, yeah. The height to width proportion was like a Lego man.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing was wouldn't normally promote Talk Sport on here, but at the moment Talk Sport has got what's his name? Danny Kelly's talking to David Icke. You know David Icke?
Oh yeah.
Former Coventry goalkeeper turned Messiah. It's on right now, and I'm going to tune on and see what he's saying. But I thought it might be interesting also to have listened to that, because he is going to talk about the whole Messiah business and the aliens and the lizard people and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, Beth just said it sounds like you're describing Warwick Davis.
Not far off, I suppose. He was definitely taller. He was about 5 foot in terms of, cause that guy is obviously, because his proportion of his legs, he tends to move side to side. But this guy literally moved like he had no knees. So yeah.
Right. Okay then.
But yeah, anyone else who wants to have a bit of fun this evening, check out TalkSport now for the interview with David Icke. Should be interesting.
Okay, you've heard it here first. Probably last.
Guys, yeah.
See you soon.
Well, they probably heard it on TalkSport first.
Right, so just to say to those that are in the hub tonight, that's Andy, who's just been on Skype again. JW, who's there, Ghost Rider. I think we lost him in a bit because his internet was playing up.
Yeah,
the Viscount 4. I think that's how
he said
you pronounce it.
Just call him the Viscount.
The Viscount, Beth GPS, and the many people that are listening that aren't in the chat room, because I know you're there.
Yeah, we can see you.
We can see you there.
Yes, Ghost Rider said it's raining cats and dogs where he is.
Yes, so we lost him. As I was saying, I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. And we look forward to having you company again next week, Saturday at 8 p.m. Andy Mercer. Okay. And thanks for listening to the KTPF Community Show, recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication, and
the KTPF Community Talk Show is sponsored by Craigenos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, include fright nights, all-night investigations, and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
Until then, it's all that we can say is
keep the paranormal friendly, guys. See you all next week.
This is where it's at.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost. Ghost Store.